New Apple products leaked by the Russians.
Welcome to All Future, where we talk all things Apple, tech, various AI things throughout the week. If you've subscribed, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. And today we are talking about this new Russian leak of the new MacBook, amongst a few other things. It's a pretty crazy one because we're used to seeing like fake Apple leaks and dummy units, but this one's spread and a lot of people think it's legitimate. But I have a couple theories as to why we think it might be legitimate or might not. But essentially, it's an M4 MacBook that has completely made the rounds. Like, this guy has it in his hands, the full retail packaging, unboxes it, shows us what it looks like, shows the specs on screen. Although I will say it's in Russian, so I cannot read that. I'm sure plenty of people can read that.
Your
but
Cyrillic's not that great. You're like, what the heck is this? Squiggly lines? Like,
I have a friend who was he was a Russian spy. A U.S.
a spy, spying on Russia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he is fluent. So I should ask him.
You should.
But in any case,
You can also ask your phone, and it will just translate.
that might be the easier case. But apparently, this looks to be an M4 MacBook. But there's a bunch of questions about this. What do you think this is legitimate, Matt?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
This would be remarkably easy to fake because, one, it's not like it's a crazy new design or something like that. How easy would it be to even make the packaging? Like, this is all stuff you can do. You don't even need advanced knowledge of anything to do this, and to just have the screen pop up with M4 specs, like, dude, you could make that in PowerPoint and just show it on the screen, right? Like, it's not even like that advanced of fakery to do this. My question would be, to what end, though? I don't even know why someone would want to fake this, really. But probably not real. If it is real, though, cool, I guess, too. That's the other thing about this. This is the most... I guess here's the argument that it could be real, is that this is the least exciting thing to fake. I mean, it's probably the most boring thing of the rumors of these new Apple products that are coming out. It's the most expected thing, so it's not even like it's a surprise.
Yeah.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think there was anything in that video where it's like, oh, wow, I didn't think Apple would do that, right? It was just like, okay, good. It's the updated MacBook. Checks out.
Yeah, there's a couple things that point to this maybe not being the real one. And one of them is it has the old, like the background from the M3 on the packaging, on screen. So usually they're going to update that for whatever new one, because that distinguishes it in a way.
That's rookie mistake on your forging there then,
exactly.
Right? Like, yeah. So
it's got to have the Sierra. Is Sierra the new one? Or Sierra's probably old at this point.
This is where we fail.
Sequoia.
Man.
I think Sequoia.
Yeah.
I think Sequoia is the newest one. And it should have that background if it's correct. But it is funny to think about, because a leak like this, when it's M3 to M4, Apple even could ship a computer and just change the letter to 4 and not change the chip inside. The vast majority of people would not even know the difference.
I mean, the reason the most people would know is that someone would benchmark it somewhere, do a teardown, and then there'd be all these headlines, Apple's ripping you off.
Yeah.
If if that didn't exist, like in a vacuum, if I handed someone an M4 and an M3 MacBook, I doubt they would be able to tell the difference in almost any task, because and we've talked about this before, but especially the M series chips, for one, obviously awesome all the way through the lineup. But the leap between like an M3 to an M4, we don't really know what that's going to be on a MacBook yet, because I guess we're not Russians who have secret access to them early or whatever. But like, say, like right now you could do it with an M2 and M3 or whatever. It's almost so task specific on when you're going to get that benefit on that newer processor that the average person during daily use absolutely would not really notice, right? Because even if you say like a high intensity task or something maybe we're more familiar with, editing video or something, and you're like, oh, that video seemed to export a little slower or a little faster, where it's like, oh, well, did you have a lot of effects layers on it? Did you have extra color grading? How many, there's all...
Is Chrome open in the background?
Right? There's so many things that would affect it that I don't think the average person would notice. So again, that's another reason why I think maybe this video is real, because it would be such a bizarre thing to fake, almost to no purpose. And I think we just checked, like, there's like 3,000 views on it. It's not like they're like racking up AdSense. And I'm pretty sure if you are located in Russia, you don't get AdSense right now anyway, because that's part of sanctions. So there would be almost no benefit
Yeah.
to doing this.
Yeah, it's definitely odd. But if it did leak, people like Mark Gurman said this is unprecedented for Apple, that a full product with packaging and everything has leaked like this. But I guess only time will tell. I'm going to guess it's not real. But regardless, this event is coming up soon. We're expecting it at the end of October. I don't think anything has been announced yet, but we're expecting the new M4 MacBooks, the iMac, and that new Mac Mini that you're excited for.
Yeah, there we go. Leak that, Russia. I'm into that.
Yeah, that would be the exciting leak, to see that new design. Maybe we could just put a box together around an Apple TV.
Oh, dude, we'd absolutely fake that. Like, if we wanted to make a video, like, that's, yeah, you could definitely, the way to do it would be get an Apple TV box. There's actually weird, okay, this is how I'd actually do it. I've got it all figured out, all right? I would get the box to an Apple product that is not currently out right now. Maybe a first-gen Apple TV. Do you remember this thing? It was bigger.
Yeah,
it was almost Mac Mini sized even, right? Something like that. Something that's a larger or weirder shape. It'd be pretty easy to print a fake front to put on it. I guess you could actually get like adhesive stickers and like have like a sticker front that's stuck onto it that would look real. So I would do that, and then when you open it, you would just do some cuts so that it would it cut to something that, and then I would do it so where the actual thing itself was digital manipulation. So I'd be like, you're top down on the box. I'd do the opening. The second it was about to reveal, I would cut to my front angle and go like, oh man, this is amazing. Then I cut back to my over the head. Then that is a digitally manipulated inside of photo. You could even do it Photoshop, not even like hardcore CGI.
It doesn't even have to move. Yeah,
you don't. It doesn't have to move. And then you're still doing reactions. You're operating on a split screen, so it sees inside. There you go. That's how you do it. Years ago, I made a video. This is when I was working on a video game YouTube channel. And this a pretty big Nintendo kind of based one. And this is when the original rumors of the Nintendo Switch came out. So whenever that was, so 2015, 16 or something like that. And we faked a Nintendo Switch exactly like that, using that method. We didn't like say that we had a real one. We were just like, oh, this is what it could be like,
okay. Yeah.
You know? And even then though, it went viral on Reddit of people just cutting the section of it out and saying like, oh, here's a real unboxing of it. Even in the video, we like said it was fake, but you know, people just took the footage. So yeah, this is easy to fake this stuff if you want to, even in a more advanced way than the Russians are doing here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we will see those quite soon at the October event. And then it is expected that Apple will announce their latest stuff for Apple Intelligence at this event. And then they're going to potentially announce that it's coming to M4 Macs first, which is one of those things that shouldn't matter, but they might find a way for that to matter. And that was another thing I was going to say about this, testing that M4 MacBook. You can't even test the Apple Intelligence optimization on it yet because it's not actually
Wait, so you saying, are you saying the rumor is that Apple Intelligence on the Mac side is going to be available on M4 Macs before it's available on previous M Series Macs? Is that the rumor?
I think there's a rumor going around saying that.
That's crazy town. That's
Yeah.
crazy town. Like that,
I know.
I mean, maybe, but that seems a little wild.
It does, but yeah, maybe there's something in the chip that makes it easier out the gate. But at the same time, you don't have your software yet on the iPad Pro, right?
It actually just got updated.
It did, okay.
Maybe 2-3 days ago.
Okay.
So yes, I am running now iPad OS 18
Good.
on my iPad Pro. They finally released it so that it didn't brick the system.
That's good.
This is a complete aside. But you know what when I was using, I was thinking, I was like, man, if they hadn't put Apple Intelligence stuff, well, which they haven't, I guess, technically yet, but if that wasn't coming, this would be kind of a low-end upgrade on the OS side. I'm like, what new features are really in here that are not Apple Intelligence features? And I'm like, oh, well, I guess arranging the desktop, the home screen a little different, having gaps in where the icons are or whatever, and theming them colors, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Some newer stuff with how widgets work. But it's still like, it's kind of a low-key upgrade without Apple Intelligence. So that makes me wonder, what was Apple's plan if there wasn't Apple Intelligence? Like, were they gonna try to? Was this just gonna be kind of a?
Or maybe they shifted focus.
That's what I wonder. I bet there was more kind of marquee features they were thinking about, and they kind of threw those out the window and said, "Hey, all you guys, now you're working on Apple Intelligence." And so we kind of didn't get the alternate universe version where there's AI didn't take off, but there's better baseline OS improvements.
Yeah, that does seem likely. The other rumor for the October event is an iPad mini processor refresh. So not much exciting there, but that probably brings it in line, I would guess, to a processor that does Apple Intelligence. But the next thing coming soon is the iPhone SE 4. So this will be exciting for people buying more affordable phones, or I think also this is kind of going to be kind of geared towards kids, but it's also just an updated version of this phone. So it's the iPhone 14 style, reportedly, which is a big change for this because there's no home button. It will have a bigger screen, and it'll have an A18 processor, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and we're not really sure about the camera, but there's rumors it might have the main 48 megapixel lens, just a single one, and that can get a lot done being 48 megapixels. You can have a 2x, but that also seems, I don't know. What do you think?
Are you saying this phone's only going to have one lens?
I think the SE right now only has one, right?
I don't think you can buy an SE right now, right? Is there an active SE line right now?
I think so.
We gotta look this up.
Let me check.
I'm like, can you buy an SE like from Apple right now?
Okay, we got iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 16, iPhone SE. Look at that home button.
Evidently, you can still buy the iPhone SE.
Yeah.
So I learned something new today. I thought they dropped it like last year. So this would be actually a weird looking iPhone. So if you think about it like
that's a good
there's
point.
not gonna be any iPhone with that kind. That's why it originally struck me, because you were just saying iPhone 14 style body,
with
which would
single,
be but with a single camera on the back. That would be a completely new iPhone design, which is kind of weird because even the SE that they're currently selling now is essentially like an iPhone 7 style design, I guess is what it would be. Maybe iPhone 8, I guess, depending on how you're thinking about it. So yeah, like that would be interesting if it's kind of the squared off design, the modern iPhone look, but only a camera bump with one camera on the back. Cool. This might be the phone, man, for people. Like if you just want Apple Intelligence, you need to upgrade. You don't care about a lot of other stuff.
Yeah,
that's a good deal, maybe.
Well, yeah. And speaking of single cameras, if they did that to 48 megapixels, that does. We've talked a lot about how like megapixels alone don't matter, but in this case, this allows you to have like the 2x lens. So it feels like you have two lenses. Of course, we know the focal length is not actually changing. You're not changing any depth of field.
It's a digital crop, not an actual zoom or whatever. So, but still, though, I mean, that's a pretty compelling thing, like you said, for kids, people who don't really care, people who just want to save a lot of money. Like, I mean, I bet that. I mean, you're gonna be able to get these for free, really, because carriers are going to sell them. Where if you can, get it for nothing or free with any trade in, that sort of thing. Yeah,
it will be interesting to see because it'll still, I think A18 chip is what it'll have, so it'll probably have Apple Intelligence.
Absolutely. Well, no way Apple makes any phone from here on out without Apple Intelligence. Yeah, so this actually could be the most interesting iPhone in a long time.
Because what is that? Less than half the price of a Pro, and you're still getting Apple Intelligence. You're still feeling like you have two cameras right there. That could be pretty cool. But the way they might get people who want like this simpler device is rumored to be the iPhone 17 Air, and there are some more details coming out about that. We've talked about this just kind of like slightly below the Pro line. It fits in like where the iPad Air fits in, and this would be a thinner design and an A19 chip, but apparently this might only also have one camera. So it might be a similar type of thing. And maybe they're just going with, we can do a lot of digital processing to make it feel like you have more than one camera, or your digital zoom still looks good. And
well, for sure, right? Like it really, the multi-lens camera thing used to matter a lot more than it does now, especially, Apple's current marketing terms, fusion cameras or whatever they're calling it, right? So you don't need, I think, multiple lenses to get a camera that people are satisfied with now. Yeah. I think most people probably just take pictures on the 1x zoom anyway, right? Because they just open it up and take a picture. So yeah, that's I've always said that this Air idea I think is a cool idea. We'll see. Like I think it's really going to matter how they stagger out the pricing. Right, because it's going to be if you are like, oh, it's only $100 more. Like, right now, I mean, it's a $200 difference essentially between a baseline and a Pro. And then, so what are you just going to make it $100 difference going up or down? Like all of a sudden, that kind of compresses that price differentiation. And what this could do is be Apple's finally their excuse to up the cost of the Pro line, which, as you know, we said many times, because of just inflation and actual value of dollars, the Pro line has gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over the years. So this is the cheapest. You can get a flagship phone right now for the cheapest in terms of real dollars than you've ever been able to get before. So yeah, like the Air might fill that gap.
Yeah, it is confusing as to where that would fit, because you would then have the iPhone SE. You'd probably have whatever the last year's one was. So the 16, they would probably still sell. Then they'd have the 17, and then they'd have the 17 Pro, and then they'd have an Air in there. So maybe people only consider those last 4 to be the new phones, and then everything else is like they still sell it, but it's not actually in the lineup officially. But it is getting a little more complicated, and I would be really curious about that single lens thing. And maybe the way they could convince us is, do you think there's a way, if you only do a single camera, but you do a phone like this size, can you then flatten it out? Can you then make the camera flush with the back of the phone, or is that impossible?
No, it's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's I mean, if they made extreme design decisions, they can make the camera flush right now, right? Like it's just. The problem is, it's almost, I guess it is part of the cameras, but I was going to say, it's all the stuff behind the camera that's in the way of putting the camera in at a greater depth, whether it's battery and processor and screen stuff. So, like, yeah, that might be the way to, that's probably a good explanation if they only put one camera in it, is because they make it actually a perfectly flat, super thin design.
Yeah, which could be cool to see, because the camera bump is very prominent, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I got a great visual example for a flat camera. The one that sits on the front of this, dude. You know, like, that's perfectly flat behind glass there. It's not that bad. It does okay, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could absolutely make it flat.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see if they do that. That's my theory. That's my rolling theory for why the iPhone 17 Air is only going to have one camera, so that they can flatten it out and really make it design focused, as opposed to having this sticking out camera bump. But we'll see. As far as that camera shutter button, you have the new phone now, right?
Yes.
Have you been using that shutter button?
Sure.
I only basically use it to launch it.
Yeah.
That's what I find.
Yeah.
It's cool that it exists, and I'm sure I'll have use cases, but the majority of the time, I still find myself using normal.
Yeah. I've been using it. I think it's a nice little quality of life improvement. I think there's a lot more potential for what that button is, and what you can do with it, that hasn't really been unlocked yet. But yeah, I like it. But I think if you're talking about this Air thing, right, they strip all that stuff out, right? You get rid of everything that takes up space so you can make it as thin as possible. So you almost get rid of all tactile inputs, almost. A Tesla interior, if you will, where it's just all touchscreen on everything, right? Or, you know, and even like you don't even make like a physical volume up and volume down. Maybe it's some kind of like haptic slide on the side or something like that.
That's like almost invisible. So you look at it and it's just this beautiful thing.
Yeah, but when you like kind of touch the side, it gives you a haptic response and you can slide up and down.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's how you do the volume on those Meta Ray-Bans. It's just like a little
you just kind of
swipe.
Yeah, you swipe on it. Yeah,
it does a pretty good job. But all this to say, these phones are cool, you know?
Yes.
But at the same time, we're kind of talking about just a slightly slimmer camera. We're kind of talking about a design getting, I don't know, a little cheaper. I don't feel like there's much with phones going forward. Like, what are they going to be able to give us that is a big revolutionary change with phones? Do we need that? Is the phone going to die? What do you think about phones like maybe 5 to 10 years from now?
I like how you just throw it's like, oh, the very end of the episode. Oh, by the way, are phones dead? Yeah, phones are going away. Of course they are. All technology does. And I think what you got to look at, there was a phrase from when I worked in intelligence, is that you always ask for results, not products, right? In other words, when I was doing the intel stuff, right, like you never ask like, oh, can I get a satellite picture of this house? What you go is, I need to know when this guy leaves the house. How can I find that out, right? And then work backwards from that. And so what are phones? It's like, oh, well, I need something that keeps me connected to the digital world, lets me communicate with people effectively, and can maybe occasionally take a picture and relay information about that. So, yeah, there's no reason it needs to be in this phone form factor. Although it kind of is elegant solution, just a screen in your pocket, right?
Yeah, especially as it is today. It's great.
Yeah, but are we going to need the screens going forward? I don't think so, right? Like less and less so, especially as AI kind of takes over more stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I think about it, the movie Her, kind of, right, where it's primarily like an audio voice input system, and then the Scarlett Johansson is like, oh, I put the picture on your device if you want to see it, and then he pulls out the device and actually looks at it. So yeah, of course phones are going to go away eventually. I think there's probably a couple more iterations of probably 100 more iterations of these things before we like fully get rid of it. We don't even know what solutions people are going to like try to or what the problems are going to be that people are trying to find solutions for in the future either, you know? I mean, it'd be really hard to explain to someone a lot of our modern technology if they didn't have the paradigm of why we need them, you know? Everything from NFC readers to QR codes to Google Maps, like, would not make sense to someone 600 years ago. Like, they'd be like, why does this even exist? Yes, phones are going away. Are phones going to keep being boring? Phones have always been boring. Like, everyone has like these rose-colored glasses of like this like era of like explosive revolutionary things when like, say, like Steve Jobs was around. And I was like, I would argue that 100, 200 years from now, if people look at the evolution of the iPhone, no one's going to go like, oh man, that iPhone 4 with that glass back, that was a big deal. These things all look the same. It's going to just blur together. So it's always been iterative. They've never been super exciting. Because that's how actual products work.
And at a certain point, like, we're always trying to innovate and bring out a new thing, but at a certain point, technology works, you know? Like, you have a toaster that functions as it does. I guess people are adding smart capabilities now to things like that. But, or like, I don't know, I think from a musical side, like, the piano hasn't changed in decades.
Well, that's a problem in our hyper-capitalism world, right? Because you almost have to do things like make a smart toaster because you've got to sell more toasters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you have a toaster that is perfectly fine and functional. Like, I mean, everything has some kind of level of planned obsolescence built into it now, whether it's like directly intentional or it's just because it's made out of cheap junk, right? So yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, we talk about, use your phone as a prop again. Like, I mean, this thing's going to be pretty much non-functional in 12 years or something, right? Like, it's going to stop getting updates. It's not the networks that exist, it won't be able to work on it, all this kind of stuff, right? Whereas, I mean, I can use a typewriter from 1905 and it still works great. You know, I can use, at my family's farm, we have a cart with the wagon wheels that have just always been there since probably 1823 when my family showed up, right? And it still works, but all that stuff's going away. So I think that's when you look at, will phones go away? They definitely will, because they can't stay around. There's no way that certainly this version of it that exists today stays relevant, going decades into the future.
Yeah. A lot of this always leads me to show my, EV side of things, I follow EVs because I feel like that's the one that is going to be the most interest now. I'm already bought in and, I drive an electric car, but I feel like I'm kind of like someone buying like the original iPhone still, or like maybe the second gen iPhone.
Your early adopter kind of status. Yeah.
And at a certain point, these we're going to keep seeing exciting evolutions in electric car technology and like the latest batteries that last this much longer or charge this much faster. And that's going to be exciting, while phones and computers are like, they're already so good. What more do we need out of them? So that's why I have an EV channel. It's because I'm excited about it.
Look him up, Ryan Shaw EV channel, I guess. Probably just Google Ryan Shaw and you show up. Yeah, so
probably. Yeah. But in any case, this all comes back to the M4 MacBook, which reportedly leaked. We're skeptical.